Well, happy Tuesday, members of the Altcoin Buzz army, if you can call it that. I can certainly commiserate. I'm not making light of anything. We're all feeling the pain right now. But it's kind of like a level of pain that's bordering on the ludicrous, if you ask me. This is something that I feel we can relate to, at least some of us. Breaking McDonald's sees a huge surge in applicants today as crypto prices tumble. To get a little bit more serious for just a moment, I think we're experiencing the pits of the fear and greed index right now. This indicator is showing extreme fear, a level 10 in fact. And just in terms of recent historical comparisons, we had still extreme fear, but 23 yesterday. So we're down significantly versus where we were yesterday in terms of how scared we are of the situation, in terms of the public or collective sentiment. Last week was actually 38. I didn't realize that we were that high last week, sort of in the fear territory, but not extreme. Last month was extreme fear. And yes, let's admit it, let's get it out of the way. Bitcoin is below $30,000, even at the time of this recording. I want to give you guys kind of my perspective on this. Whether or not you agree with me, that's cool. Different people obviously have different approaches in this space. And to be totally candid, if you're a day trader or you're even a swing trader, this probably doesn't apply to you in terms of, my outlook or my advice or any of, the recommendations, not financial advice, but any of, what I'm about to say. It probably doesn't apply to those of you that would characterize yourselves as day or swing traders. But, for those of us, and I lump myself into this basket, that are looking to the future, that maybe are a little bit more, I don't want to say patient because then that sounds like a slight against the others, but for those of us with long-term time horizons, there are some arguments to be made. We kind of hinted at them yesterday as to why all of this FUD out of China, although it's definitely representative of a pain point right now, there are some arguments to suggest that long-term it's actually a positive for the space. So I'm going to give you guys a disclaimer right now. We're about to take a look at the market on CoinGecko.com. So for any of you that are easily startled or, in case this triggers some type of negative trauma, negative memories in your lives, you've been warned. All right, 3, 2, 1. We are down 11.5% on the day. It's now like the third, I believe, day in a row that we've covered the market, and we're down like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, now 11%. It doesn't seem realistic anymore. It just keeps cascading downward into this negative, spiraling, black, sentiment, unfortunately. Bitcoin down 6.1% on the day. So a moment ago, just before I hit record, we were below $30,000. We're now, I guess, technically above $30,044 here as per what CoinGecko is saying. But check this out, the market at $1.2 trillion, 1.232. Just a few days ago, we were still in the 1.6, almost 1.7 range, which means that we've bled several $100 billion right now. And there's nothing really new to report. I mean, in terms of hard news, since yesterday's video, we talked about one of the largest banks in the world and one of the largest banks in China, China's agricultural bank. They've effectively banned cryptocurrency transactions, telling their clients, look, if you dabble in crypto, we're closing your account. End of story, which is obscenely tyrannical, which is just blatantly authoritarian. But that's China. A couple of smaller players in the UK also making similar moves, which is concerning. To me, it just speaks to a negative trend that's also happening in the UK right now. China, I'm not as surprised. The UK, I'm kind of surprised by that. I think UK residents ought to really stand up for themselves when it comes to that kind of stuff. That's reprehensible, in my opinion. But nothing's really changed since then. I think this is, to the best of my knowledge right now, a situation where people are, not everybody hears about the news the first minute, the first hour that it drops. It's kind of sinking in right now. And it's a combination of people reacting to it and manipulation that is still ongoing, by the way. I think this is all, not to get back into the whole tinfoil hat narrative that we've been discussing yesterday, the day before in our videos, but this is all coordinated. This is all happening. These press releases are happening at the same time, just like perfectly in sync with the Bitcoin death cross when the 50 EMA dropped below the 200 AMA. This is not anything that is to my opinion, could have happened just randomly and organically. Like they chose the best possible time to maximize pain, to maximize the trauma. So that is the state of the market right now. I'm not taking it lightly. For God's sake, I'm wearing a collared shirt today. So you know your boy Maddie's being serious when he talks about this kind of stuff. It is a serious development. It's very, very painful and in an acute sense, very negative for the market. But in the long-term sense, let's actually ask ourselves, where does this go? So we're going to take a look at a couple of stories here suggesting that there's a lot of positivity that is going to be the end result of these bans out of China. And then we're going to take a look at Anthony Pompliano's perspective, because he's written out a very thoughtful, a very considered tweet thread, which really sums up where my thinking is. And I'd like to share that with you guys. Of course, at the end of this video, we're also giving away $50 worth of Ethereum. So stay tuned for that. And by the way, when you win Ethereum these days, because now the price of Ethereum, I believe, is below $1,800. Okay, just at $1,800. But you know, as a winner of Ethereum, when you're winning Ether now, $50 worth gives you more GWAY. So it's better not only to win contests during the dip, but it's really a pretty good situation for those dollar cost averaging, for those buying the dip, for those that want to hold for the long term, because everything's on sale right now. So if your game is about, you know, stacking Satoshis, accumulating GWAY, then not a bad opportunity. Not financial advice, but that's my point of view. Okay, here's some of the initial reporting that we're seeing right now. And this kind of, you know, to rewind a little bit, we have to remind ourselves that this whole China FUD narrative, why are the communists in China, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, ostensibly, why are they banning Bitcoin? Why are they instructing their banks to eliminate any customer accounts that involve themselves in cryptocurrency? What they're saying, and it's 100% false. I mean, this is totally dishonest. But what they're saying, the reason that they're giving, is that this is an energy concern, right? This is an environmental climate concern. Look, you know, I'm not necessarily throwing China under the bus here, but when exactly have China been the standard bearers of climate and green energy and environmentalism? Like, this is their last priority, okay? For them to come out and say that this is about energy and you know, climate change and whatnot is total BS. Like, it's total nonsense. What's more important to them as an authoritarian state is to control or have more control of the economy, of the monetary supply. And they really want to pump up and support their upcoming digital yuan, their central bank digital currency, their CBDC. They're rolling out with that very, 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 very aggressively. I'm sure you've been hearing more and more news about that. And so the criticism has been for years now, well, not so much for years, but think back even to a couple months ago, some of what Elon Musk has said that, you know, Tesla, we can't be dealing with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrency because of the energy situation and all of these very, very dirty Bitcoin that are produced out of China, out of these Chinese coal plants. It's just not a good look for us. And we said, okay, well, we disagree, but it's not a bad thing for Bitcoin and crypto to move in a direction that is increasingly renewable. I believe 75% renewable for the time being, and perhaps more renewable as time goes by, 80%, 85, 90, 95, that would be great. So now, in sync with this banking ban of Bitcoin that we saw yesterday out of China's agricultural bank and that UK bank, we also had the shutdown of pretty much all, I think 90% was the figure. So 90% of mining hardware, Bitcoin mining hardware, was shut down in the province of Sichuan, China. Okay, what are the ramifications of this? The hash rate decreased significantly, like by 40%. And that was a shock to the system. So again, short term, not good. But long term, what does that mean? Long term, those countries that, you know, want to identify or define, I should say, themselves as crypto havens, long term, these countries are going to be the ones that are going to absorb that business. And not only do they want to absorb that business, they're literally absorbing the hardware that China has shut down. So check this out, finance.yahoo.com. Chinese logistics firm airlifting Bitcoin mining machines to Maryland, according to a report. So a Chinese firm is airlifting 3 metric tons, in fact, 3.3 tons of Bitcoin mining machines to Maryland, United States, as the Chinese government cracks down on the industry. Photos appearing to show the equipment packed up and ready to be airlifted were shared on Twitter Monday by CNBC's senior correspondent in Beijing, Eunice Yoon. Guangzhou-based Fenghua International told CNBC it is airlifting 3,000 kilograms or 6,600 pounds of machines to Maryland. And it's the equivalent, if you do the math, to about 200 units of S19. That's courtesy of Thomas Heller, Chief Business Officer at Compass Mining. That's what he told CoinDesk. So we're talking about Antminer S19 Pros. That's the piece of equipment in question. Each of them weighs about 15.2 kilograms. You divide 6,600 by 15.2, it stands to reason that about 200 of those units were airlifted. This is getting a lot of coverage all of a sudden. 3 tons of Bitcoin mining rigs will reportedly relocate from Guangzhou to Maryland. And here's a photo courtesy of that Beijing correspondent that we mentioned a moment ago, so Eunice Yoon. China logistics firm in Guangzhou confirms to CNBC it is airlifting those 3,000 kilos of Bitcoin mining machines to Maryland. Fenghua International advertises products delivered to door, tax on both ends, cleared price per kilo as low as $9.37. Not too bad. I have no idea what the standard would be, but that sounds reasonable, I guess. This is not going to turn the tables. Like, this is one instance. This is entirely anecdotal. And I'm not saying that, oh my God, look, Maryland is saving the day just because they, absorbed these 200 units. No. But what does it symbolize? It symbolizes the trend that's going to take over right now. The world is not going to be able to forget about Bitcoin. Like, that's just not possible. Okay. Do you really think Bitcoin's going to go to zero just because China is coming out against it, because an authoritarian, tyrannical state is banning its citizens from using it? Different countries, i.e., think about El Salvador, think about Central and South America, everything that's happening right now. That illustrates very clearly that different countries have different philosophies about this kind of stuff. Even the USA has different philosophies about this kind of stuff. Look what's happening in Texas with some of the solar-powered Bitcoin mining farm proposals that are happening there. And now Maryland I didn't know anything about Maryland personally. It looks like it may also be becoming a bit of a hub, if only a crypto mining hub. But that's good news. So we have this game theory situation that's unfolding right now. China doesn't want to be involved in this. That's fine. In the short term, it's a negative because, like I said, it affects the hash rate, it affects sentiment, it affects market morale. Extreme fear. We're at a figure of 10 right now out of 100. Extreme fear. I'm not denying that. But over the long term, we're going to see this redistribution of resources, this redistribution of focus and knowledge and equipment and specialization. And you'll have these countries, not only like the United States, but the El Salvadors of the world that say, all right, China doesn't want to use their, what the CCP calls dirty energy to mine Bitcoin. No problem. No problem. We're going to use our volcanoes instead. And they may not have volcanoes, but the same can be said of other countries. Paraguay, Panama, don't forget legislation is coming up for both of those countries. And, in my opinion, we've only just begun to scratch the surface in terms of energy capabilities, if that is indeed a concern that we want to address. I'm not so sure that it needs to be addressed. I'm not so sure that the critics are deserving of that discussion. But if we do want to talk about, energy proposals, not only do we have volcanoes, not only do we have solar, we haven't even begun discussing the potential of geothermal, which, as is my understanding, eclipses basically all other forms of energy availability and potential production. So, look, the point is that we're going to redistribute things, and just by virtue of market incentives, this is not the end of the story. China does not have the final say on this. Sorry. So let me know what your thoughts are about that, guys. I have reason to believe that this is the beginning of perhaps a new chapter, even though we're experiencing an acute pain point right now. Long term, ultimately, if you think about it, this is a situation that is very much unfolding in the direction that a lot of the critics would have hoped for, right? All of the green and the climate alarmists, in a sense, have their wish granted. So what I hope is that we can put China behind us. Maybe this means that they're going to have less power. This Chinese boogeyman here that has been haunting Bitcoin for years and years and years. If this is the end of it, so be it. Let's turn the page now and enjoy a new era of prosperity, or at least a new chapter. Let me know what your thoughts are about that. I want to kind of go through this post here, this thread that Anthony Pompliano has put together, and look, it's going to kind of reiterate some of the sentiments and some of the thoughts that I just described, but I think this is important to go through. I'll provide a little bit of commentary in the process, but Let's take a look at this. So Anthony Pompliano, this from earlier this morning, Bitcoin is under $30,000. Here's a quick thread to document what I'm thinking right now and what my strategy is during these price drawdowns. I'm not a trader. I don't look at charts and I don't try to time markets. If anything, I'm an atrocious trader who is guaranteed to lose. I have a very long-term view of the assets, and I believe the asset, Bitcoin, and I believe it will continue to accrue value and adoption over the next few decades. So we're not talking about the next few weeks, months, or even years. And you think about Plan B, who said worst case scenario, we're still talking I think he said $35,000 by the end of this year. That's not even decades. That's not even years. That's a few months from now. So this is kind of the next level of long-term horizon. Again, thinking about this in terms of decades, as am I. My strategy with Bitcoin over the last few years is simple. Accumulate as much Bitcoin as I can. The word accumulate is important. This is an action you do with no intention of selling for profit later. Very interesting. And by the way, we talk about Bitcoin a lot right now because it is the asset that is kind of setting the trend in the market. These days, the negative trend, unfortunately. But this same philosophy extends to Ethereum. It extends to all of cryptocurrency and all altcoins. The idea has always been to dollar cost average into Bitcoin. For those that don't know what this is, I basically buy Bitcoin on a periodic basis without caring what the price is. Sometimes I buy when the price is high. Sometimes I buy when the price is low, weekly or monthly. The dollar cost average or DCA strategy relies on the idea that time in the market is more important than timing the market. This has historically been true in Bitcoin. The asset has an annual compound growth rate of over 100% throughout the last decade. And when the price of Bitcoin falls, which it has been doing for the last few weeks, I try to speed up the frequency of my dollar cost averaging. Given my oversized exposure to the asset, this isn't always easy, but I do my best and spend most of my time trying to find more money. That's the challenge right now. Look, not financial advice, but I think it is a good time to buy the dip, not only for Bitcoin, but for other alts as well. That's the challenge, though. Do you have enough dry powder? Or maybe you've already bought the dip and you're just out of money. It's something, an issue that I think we can all relate to. I don't care about the short-term price movement of Bitcoin after I buy it. Remember, I'm not a trader. I buy the asset and tell myself that I'm going to hand it to my grandchildren one day. As Warren Buffett famously says, our favorite holding period is forever. The key to investing in a volatile asset like Bitcoin is that you have to size your portfolio allocation correctly. Don't invest money that you will need for daily expenses or money you can't afford to lose. Markets are volatile. Long-term investment means long-term. A key reason why I take the long-term holding strategy to the extreme is for emotional control and peace of mind. It is easy to stomach wild price swings when you know you're handing the asset to your grandchildren. Fear and greed are very real. Insulate yourself from them. I have no clue where the price of Bitcoin is going in the short term. It could go higher, it could go lower. I simply don't know and don't believe most people know either. However, I know that I want to own as much Bitcoin as possible for the long term. Given my long time horizon view, the longer Bitcoin stays at depressed prices, the more Bitcoin I can accumulate at these levels. And that is the very important silver lining when it comes to massive dips. This is a weird thing with most Bitcoin holders. The strong hands welcome low prices for long periods of time because it helps with accumulation. Exactly. So, finally, here's what Anthony Pompliano is thinking right now. He's thinking about a strong belief in Bitcoin and a resolve that isn't going to change. It's something that if you feel has a brighter future than its past and then even than its present, then why not accumulate more of it, especially when it's on sale? Not financial advice. He's also thinking about a long-term view on the asset. Look, you don't have to necessarily hold on to your Bitcoin forever or your altcoins or your Ethereum. You don't have to hand it to your grandchildren if you don't want to. You can take profit if you want. But generally speaking, the longer your time horizon is, the more valuable that asset will be with time. Whether it's years or decades or multi-generational time windows, that's up to you. Dollar cost averaging aggressively is what he is doing. That is always it's just a way to automate, your strategy and take your emotions out of your investments, out of your entry points. It's psychologically very beneficial, I would say. He's not worried over short-term price, and again, plan to hand Bitcoin to my grandchildren. Could I be wrong? Sure, but I'm not betting on it. Look, guys, none of this is financial advice, of course, but just a refreshing perspective, I would say, during, again, these times that we're going through right now. Extremely fearful, extremely anxious times for a lot of investors and a lot of individuals. Of course, you can make your own decisions, but let's help you guys out with an Ethereum giveaway. We're giving away $50 worth of ETH. Looking at the videos here on Altcoin Buzz News. Yesterday, we covered the ridiculous FUD out of China. I called it BS, I think, multiple times in the video. I stand by that perspective and that opinion. Not only is the China FUD BS, but the manipulation is such that everything is coming out at the time of Bitcoin's death cross. Somebody's going to be making a very big move very soon. This cannot go on forever. China's out of ammunition as far as I'm concerned. They can no longer be the boogeyman for the next 10 years. At least that's the positive right now. At least we're kind of pivoting, turning the page into a new chapter, and hopefully all of this China BS will finally be behind us. They do not deserve to shape the public sentiment, the investor sentiment in cryptocurrency to the extent that they have. Anyways, let's take a look at yesterday's video here. 171 comments, 171 likes, 682 comments. In order to be eligible for our Ethereum giveaway, you have to like the video, you got to subscribe to Altcoin Buzz, and you got to comment with the letters ETH, ETH, or the word Ethereum. Let's go ahead and take the URL from yesterday's video. Okay, that is copied. Going over to our Raffle Dash YouTube random comment picker, as long as you meet the criteria. And as long as you're not a previous winner, because we're going to skip previous winners, that's where you stand a chance to win. Today's winner, $50 worth of Ether. Hannah Hamilton now is really cool. ETH, ETH. Congratulations, Hannah. Do me a favor, go back and check out your own comment on this video. So find your own comment, Hannah, in yesterday's video, i.e. this comment right here. Reply to it with the Ethereum address to which you would like us to send you your $50 worth of Ether. It's that easy. Congratulations, Hannah. You are the winner. Guys, there's a lot happening right now. You got to check out altcoinbuzz.io because we have Unbound and Engine updates. We have Cartesi updates. We have a new CRO price prediction that I hope to turn into a video very soon, so stay on the lookout for that back on our main channel, Altcoin Buzz. The best way to keep up to speed with us is to be sure you're following all the regular social media channels. Keep checking back into altcoinbuzz.io, of course, for all the latest. Like, subscribe, share, hit that bell to receive notifications if you enjoyed today's video. None of this is financial advice, but best of luck if you choose to invest. Check out these other videos that are popping up right about now if you'd like to look at some other content, some other coverage that we've been doing. Stay safe, everybody. As always, we do hope to see you again soon in the next one. Take care.